At first glance, you'd think this is just a normal VHS tape, but when you look closer, you'll see that it's anything but. Looking at this, you'd never know this unassuming tape can actually stream movies and TV shows directly to your old CRT. I don't know about you, but I love everything retro. Video games, movies, and even toys. What I love even more about these nostalgic things is whenever it's modernized in some way. Some of the biggest examples would be something like modding consoles or handhelds, which I've dabbled with in the past and continue to do so. The one thing I love about watching and playing older content is the authentic experience of doing it the way it was meant to be, displayed in 4x3 on a CRT. With video games and older media like DVD or VHS, that's easy enough to accomplish. But of course now, the modern way of watching your favorite shows or movies is through streaming. But trying to do that on a tube TV? That's not so easy. I know, I get it. This is just kind of weird and pretentious. Why not just watch these old TV shows on my 4K TV upstairs? Well, at the end of the day, it's about the aesthetics and just trying to capture the vibe of how it was meant to be played. And if that's not good enough, then how about why not? Up until now, I found a workaround to stream my Plex standard def content on a CRT, and that's been through my Roku Express Plus, specifically the model 3910X. This is actually the last available official streaming device, to my knowledge, that had the capability of analog out, which was actually released in 2017. And because this was the last one that actually had analog out, it can go for a good amount on the secondhand market. So this little Roku's been serviceable, treating me well enough over the last few years, but if you've used streaming devices or smart TVs in the last 10 years or so, you know as well as I do that these all succumb to one of two things. One, the UI is just going to slow down to a crawl, making you not even want to bother using it since the navigation is borderline unresponsive. Or two, you get the pleasure of getting a device that's no longer supported. And with this in mind, I've been looking for alternatives for a while now. And just a few weeks ago, my dream actually came true.
In this video, I'm going to walk through a new app I've made called 240MP.
Thanks to the YouTuber known as Anthony Caccese, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, there is now an easy, no-hassle way to watch your Plex library on a CRT using a Raspberry Pi. The best part about it is that it's all open source. When I first saw his video, my jaw dropped in response to his attention to detail and its simplicity. And based off of my conversations with Anthony, his main goal seemed to stem from wanting to create something unlike most streaming services. Nowadays, you hop onto your Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, all of these services, they all have flashy imagery, which is all just starving for your attention. But unlike these, Anthony's 240MP project went the other way. He strived to make something lightweight and void of any distractions. Something reminiscent of a simpler time. Its simplistic design will feel right at home for anyone that's ever used a VCR, or maybe even someone that's watched a lot of the Alien franchise. I could go on all day gushing about how much I love this. Well, okay, maybe not literally all day, but let me just go through a couple things very quickly and then we can just move on. This has been getting a lot of updates rapidly with cool things such as theme changes, episode autoplay options, and in-app volume control. The Plex module is one of many modules on here. As of right now, it also supports local file playback along with a recent update adding Jellyfin and YouTube support. And the software's 240MP name is actually a two-parter. It's a combination of 240, which stems from the longest VHS tape length, and a reference to 240p resolution of CRT displays. And for the MP, it's also double meaning of media player and the play on words SP, LP, EP of VHS recording speeds. One thing to keep in mind is that I'm not going to be going over how to actually flash this software to the Raspberry Pi. From what Anthony's told me, he's going to be releasing a how-to video on that in the not too distant future. So keep that in mind. But one thing I will be going over is how I converted this VHS tape into a period-appropriate housing for the Raspberry Pi, loaded with that 240MP software. So the first thing I needed was an empty VHS tape. Well, realistically a few of them since I knew I was going to make some mistakes. But the thing that I didn't like was the idea of sacrificing a tape that someone might have actually wanted to watch. Well, luckily, I actually had a previous project where I'd created a custom VHS box set of the X-Men animated series. And during that project, I actually shell swapped the normal VHS tapes to some brightly colored blue ones, which left me with 12 perfectly usable empty tapes. And after I'd finished that project, I really just threw them in a box and let them gather dust in the garage, thinking maybe one day, maybe I'll find another use for them. And as it turns out, these tapes have finally found their purpose, because they're exactly what I needed to get this project moving. I pulled out one of my spare tapes along with the recommended Raspberry Pi, being the Pi 4 4GB RAM version. Looking at this VHS and the Pi side by side, it looks like it would fit right between the spindles on the tape. And checking the height? Yep, looks good there too. Well, that's fortunate. I wasn't exactly sure where everything was going to be placed when I initially came up with this idea, so I went ahead and opened her up, pulled out my flush cutters, and started snipping away at all the posts that could potentially just be in the way. So I ended up with something like this, and I also trimmed off whatever part of the spindle would just be in the way, just so I could do a test fit. And after looking this over, seemed good enough to me. I went ahead and added some screws with some standoffs on the Pi. Then I went ahead and oriented where the Pi was going to go into the case, as I added some drops of super glue to the standoffs. After waiting a few minutes, I gently unscrewed the board from the standoffs, and then I pulled it away so it can completely dry. Then of course, I globbed on some more super glue, just to make sure it wasn't going anywhere. And while this sat to dry, I was just thinking about where everything needed to go to have it really work. And these of course were the USB-C power port, the analog AV jack, and some sort of power button. The first two I'll just kind of figure out as I'm placing everything together, but for the power button, I actually thought of the perfect place for it. You know that little spot on the VHS tape where the little flap is? There's already kind of a little button on there that normally releases the flap, but for this build, I'll need to find a way to make this button extend outward, so I can press it more easily, while also extending it inward as well, so then I'll be able to press the little momentary switch, giving the ability to turn the Pi on and off. And to accomplish this, I think I might have to fumble my way through some 3D modeling. But when it comes to 3D modeling programs, I've tried using Fusion 360 in the past, but I've always had a rough time just trying to figure out the most basic things. So I decided to pivot to a different software, one that I think my little lizard brain could comprehend, and that's how I landed on Tinkercad. Looking at this little piece, it looks like it'd be a bitch to model from scratch. So I decided to test my luck and see if anyone just happened to 3D model a VHS tape from scratch. And luckily, some poor soul has. So I went ahead and just downloaded the files and found the specific piece that I needed and just printed it as is just to see how it fit. And of course it doesn't fit at all. Okay, so I guess they just made their own dimensions to work for their specific model, and they didn't design something as a drop-in replacement for existing VHS tapes. So after a bit of work and rework and some more rework, let me just show you what I finally ended up with. And naturally, I didn't get this right the first time, but around maybe the 4th or 5th time, I think I did. Alright, let's go ahead and place it in here and see if this thing actually works. Let me get some leverage. There's the perfect little spot that it's resting on too. And that'll just wrap around and connect to one of these pins here, and then we'll be able to power this little sucker on. And I actually noticed this is my little extender for my AV port. When it wraps around here, I think I'm gonna leave that because it almost looks like VHS tape in there. Once I noticed that this cord made that perfect little loop, I just knew I had to do the same thing on the other side. And I'm glad the AV port extender just worked, not only with the cord that Anthony recommended, but also worked well within the case. But the USB-C extender, on the other hand, that's a different story. With this AV jack, it was pretty small and flexible, and there were many spots I could choose from for it to go out of. But with this USB-C cable, it just kind of came out in an awkward spot where I just had to work around the spindle. I even tried trimming the shielding around the right angle bend to make it fit better, but it just wasn't working no matter how I tried to fit it. So I actually caved and just tried a different cable altogether. And instead of this 90-degree angle, I found one that actually did a 180-degree turn. Now I just had to hope that this didn't mess with the height so I could actually close it and get it all together. When the cable finally arrived, I went ahead and shoved her in, and looks like it's working. Great. The only thing that wasn't great about this cable was trying to figure out how to route it. And of course everything was just in the way, especially the GPIO extender. And if you look closely here, you can actually see I not only trimmed the unused legs, and to make sure I didn't ruin my pins, I got these little adapter guys, but I actually cut that whole thing in half just so there'd be more room for this USB-C cable to play around. I have no idea if this is going to work, but based off what the internet said, ground needs to be on 6 or 9, and then the red has to be on 17. But let's see if this little button turns it on. Maybe? Come on. It does. Either way, I found a way to finally make that cable fit. And then eventually everything just kind of fell into place.
I had to do some weird cabling to get to, because I wanted it to curve up and look like a piece of, of the tape.
And while those cables were generally in the right spot where I wanted them, I went ahead and found where I'd like their final placements to be. And after doing so, I got to drilling. And after finishing the test fits, cutting, and drilling, I think this little guinea pig shell has suffered enough. And now I can use what I learned from making this one and make more precise cuts for the final shell. Of course, this meant I had to do all the same cutting of the posts, get the super glue on the standoffs, and everything again. But this time, I actually made sure to push the pie all the way toward the back. When I pushed the pie all the way to the edge, I discovered that micro SD card could potentially be accessed from the outside of the shell if I made a little cut for it. And after doing a little cut on my sacrificial shell, I decided to do the same thing for the final shell as well. After making holes for that little micro SD card slot, I decided to drill not only where the USB-C and the AV ports would go, I made sure to do on the flap as well to make sure it's accessible while it's closed. Now all we need to do is just screw it together. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Especially the part where the little cords wrapped around the spindles, resembling the black tape that would normally be there. The other thing that I'm really proud of is my little label that I made for the tape. Fortunately, I'd already made a custom label template, which I used for my X-Men VHS tapes, so at least I had that to work off of. Design-wise, I just wanted to make sure that I incorporated that VCR blue in there, and that Plex yellow, and of course the font used for the 240MP. Also, if any of you are interested in the label that I made or the STL file that I did for the power button, I'll be making that available in the description, along with any other parts that I used in the build. Also, let me know if there's anything you'd be interested in me making a potential video on, like maybe my X-Men VHS tapes that I showed, or maybe something else in my game room caught your eye. Either way, let me know in the comments.